Today on the podcast, we are talking about what's called shadow AI. Basically, what that means is there are companies out there whose employees are using AI, but it's not officially approved by those companies. So we're just talking about what our experiences have been in the companies we've worked at and other companies we've seen, and how that may affect who gets replaced and who doesn't. It's not a doomsday podcast. However, we do want to talk about the realistic implications of people who are willing to use AI and people who aren't right now in our current state of business. So, Josh, I have a couple questions for you because I have been doing my own thing for a while, but you have been in a company for a little bit longer. Who has been using AI within your company, and like how has that shaped people's workflows? And then who hasn't, I guess, kind of compare the two, and how people get things done and all that.
Well, first, I want to say that we should start creating an AI and call it Shadow AI because it's a cool name.
It is a cool name. I actually
Now, it
created
could only actually do
CRM
bad
called
things
Shadow
because it
CRM.
sounds like the name of like Skynet, but
Yeah.
whatever. There's really, I would say, well, no, there's three of us. I'm at a smaller firm, like 11 people. I haven't done that count in a while. And there's really like three of us that have been using AI wherever we can, which is pretty limited. The real workhorse that we would like to see exist is an AI that's integrated with the ledger, that's able to tap into the ledger. But unless you're making your own custom tool, the stuff that's easily available and kind of plug and play, it's mostly the Claude, what is it? Claude Enterprise, where you have a bunch of seats and you can set like the privacy stuff to absolutely not hold on to your data. But if another system were able to not hold on to clients' data, we would use it. So basically Copilot, if Copilot worked, we would use it.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff we've used currently is like, I've got this Excel sheet, clean it up, or I've got this time card data, go ahead and put it into an Excel sheet from a PDF. And a lot of times the double check on that is, well, the human knows what the total should be. And so they're going to double check the total numbers that's output from the AI. We had an example we talked about maybe a week or two ago but the event happened a month or two ago where a client needed a bill of sale for a vehicle, but it was contingent on inspection, and the bank wouldn't release the funds for a loan until there was a bill of sale, but the seller didn't want to sign a bill of sale until there was a contingent agreement on inspection. It was an interesting problem, but Claude was able to spit us out a professional looking bill of sale that the bank approved and would release the funds so that the owner could go look at the vehicle and decide if he wanted to buy it. So it has been helpful, but not as much as I would like to see. At least that's improving. So what was it yesterday? Another coworker who's, I would say, has just used AI for search mostly. He's been using Cowork, and we've gotten it to do some mostly data retrieval and pulling things into Excel. So he has an interesting client that'll send him random photos of documents in an email. And this client does expenses by property. They've got some rentals. And so he'll get a picture in an email that's like vendor amount and then handwritten, here's what property goes to. And Claude has gotten, or not Claude, Cowork is at least good enough that he's been able to a limited degree, throw those into Cowork just straight from the email and say, stick this into Excel, date, vendor, amount and location, and it's done okay, but still feels like we're playing with sticks and rocks over here.
What do you feel like has kept people in your organization from the other people who haven't quite used it yet from using that, or just from using different types of AI software or looking at AI software?
Well, I think part of it is the problem that always exists, which is um, just adoption and learning of other things. Like the three of us that use it, and the owner has started using it as well. But we tend to be a little more, oh, look at the new shiny object. Let's play around with it. Um, and trying to come up with a case for it. Whereas so much of the work that we do in accounting, at least at our firm, is very cut and dry, very systematized. Or if there's not yet a system, there will be. And if you are busy and don't have the time to like look into new tools, it's hard to find the space to do that. So I think it's really, I think that vendors have done a poor job, or maybe they've not even tried, of really making the case for their AI of this is exactly how you would use it in the accounting space. Like I'm seeing people making custom stuff or talking about using the enterprise Claude and kind of how you could use it, et cetera, et cetera. But there, I've not seen any vendor that's like, here's the out of the box package, the tool that does blank.
Yeah.
With some exceptions, there's like 1099 double, does a 1099 system. Um, and then I think it's Digits has an AI integrated ledger.
Do you
But
use Ramp too? Does that have AI built into it?
that's true. It's got some AI with OCR.
Yeah.
Ramp's sort of a spending bill pay system. They have also got a credit card, and you can upload invoices, and it has a pretty good OCR that'll pull things off and plop them into a menu for you to review, uh, and then create bills based on that. So, yeah, that does have I would limited AI, and it is very helpful.
What do you think
But
would be needed?
I want something crawling through the ledger. That's what I want.
That's part of what I was going to say is what do you think would be needed in order to have something that can do that? Because I genuinely think the capability is there. It's
Hmm.
just for your firm in particular, because obviously we're talking about your firm, and but what would actually be needed to have
Yeah,
something or to be willing to have something that does that?
it's pretty much a trust problem right now. Like I agree, the functionality's there, and in theory, I can I can actually make Claude or no, probably Claude integrate with the API for QuickBooks. But the issue is it's kind of a trust issue right now. Um, One, it's got to not save any data, uh, because I can redact things all day, but there's going to be one or two times or whatever that I upload a file and forget to redact everything. So it can't be super greedy on client data. And then the second one is it has to be, I have to trust what it does, that it's not screwing something else up. So, and there's a few things I've thought about, like how you could do this. One would be, it does not have access to any closed periods.
Hmm.
It's password protected in whatever API it's integrating with. The user, however you set that up, can only work in an open period. The second being, if you had a layer between the um, the functioning of QuickBooks and the AI that was basically an approval screen, like on a project basis. Okay, Claude, I need you to do this. That like there was a project I was doing yesterday, day before, where I had to take this business has several business lines within its QuickBooks file, and I had to take this vendor's bill, split it up by employee to find, I guess it really wasn't. I had to take the employee list that was on the bill and split it up by business line and then throw those into QuickBooks so that it showed up correctly based on the business line. And I was like, this is an AI thing. Like I know exactly how to do this. I could write out instructions for it. An AI should be doing this. But what I want to see is I want to be able to hand it to an AI, have them all the way up to put it into QuickBooks, and there to be a screen in QuickBooks that's like, your AI has finished this project. Here's an audit log and the result. Hit this approve button, and it'll actually put all these changes into QuickBooks.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. What I've seen in most of the companies that I've talked to is this exact same thing. I feel like there's a couple different pieces. The first one is trust. Um, Companies and some employees just don't trust AI fully enough to, one, get the job done, but two, actually like not keep data, because that's an important part of business, is making sure data is safe. And so those two pieces combine together for people to not use it. But then I've seen people use it on the side for random stuff. And then it's like, can you really control whether data is being kept sometimes if some employees are not taking it seriously and some are? I feel like it is important to take seriously, but I know that some employees aren't even necessarily thinking that way. Not like on purpose. They're not throwing data in there, because they don't care. It's just they don't know. So it's been very interesting in all the companies that I've talked to, because there are always, and I mean always, there's at least one or two people who are using it, and then anyone else is just doing it the same way they have done it before. So it's really interesting to hear your specific experience with that. And I can also vouch for that experience because it was the same way when I was there. Uh, and you and I were, and a couple other people were the ones who were using it, and everyone else was kind of just doing it the same way they had always done it, and would come ask questions, and we would basically say, well, did you ask AI how to do that? That was like one of the most frequent questions, or I guess answers to questions was, well, did you ask AI, or did
Yeah.
you
Yep.
search it on Google and Google's AI would tell you? So it's really
Uh-huh.
interesting. Do you think, what would the timeline be for you to end up trusting, I guess, AI? Like, how long do you think it will be before that's something that your company would do? And do you think your company would actually end up implementing some systems like that? The reason I ask is because if a company says, well, we don't trust AI, but then never has the baseline for when they do you think you will actually end up implementing anything, or will it kind of be on in the background the whole time?
I think we would implement things today if there was a good, easy to use AI that did not keep your data, that we felt were like pretty confident that wouldn't keep your data. Um, I attempted again to get OpenClaw to work, this time with Olama, and I blue screened my computer twice. um, but it was just because of memory issues,
Yeah.
video memory.
Maybe you should get a
And
Mac Mini and do that.
I don't want to get a magnet.
You could probably buy an old one on Facebook Marketplace that just has barely enough
That's true.
memory to.
That's true. But my plan there was give it my personal QuickBooks file, which has no personal identification, no issues with that, and give it a view only access, and then just start having it do tasks or asking it questions, like just to see how good it could be if it had access to a ledger.
Yeah.
but we're not there yet. I mean,
Have you
like
know?
if somebody had a local AI model where I could confirm this is going nowhere, none of this information is going anywhere, I would start messing around with it today.
Yeah. Uh, not it's not local, obviously, but Claude has a specific QuickBooks MCP integration, but I know at least personally on the plan that I'm on, I'm not on the enterprise plan. I'm on the 100 per month,
Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe the 20 per month, but I am not totally sure because I'm not on that plan. However, I wonder if you could connect Claude to your personal QuickBooks and just see what happens and see
Mm-hmm.
where not that you can fully see where the data goes, but you can
Right.
kind of tell. Um, I wonder, yeah, that would be really interesting. I just think it's interesting. Well, one thing, and then I have a final question for you, but I think it's really interesting that just to see the different personalities in business, because some people are so willing to try the new thing, like me and you and some other people in your firm. And some people are not at all wanting to try anything new. And I know that you mentioned that you're a late adopter, but that is not true. I think we both find the shiny objects and try and work with them and just see how they work and are curious about how new things work. And some people are like, nope, the way I did it before is the way I'm going to do it forever, even though that's not true, but that's how they like to think. So I think that's super interesting. The question, well, one of the final questions that I have for you is what would you tell the people who haven't yet started using AI, even the shadow AI in the background that's not fully approved? What would be your advice to just get started and try some different things with
Oh
AI?
man. I had this experience this week with somebody who was looking at getting a private insurance, like a health insurance that's not a government marketplace. And they were asking me questions because they knew that I had talked to a bunch of like PPO plan providers, salespeople a few years back. And we were texting, speaking of text. Um, and my answer to them was, well, it's been a bunch of years since I've looked into that, 3 or 4 or whatever. And I don't know that I'd be able to give you specifics on what I had found. But if these people gave you documents, I was like, here's what to do: go to Perplexity, sign up for Perplexity Pro. It's $20 a month. Or if you have Venmo, see if your email, if you have the free year or whatever to get Perplexity. If you don't, I will pay for you to have Perplexity Pro for the first month. Um, and then talk them through like, okay, get Perplexity Pro, find the deep research button, take the documents that these people gave you, throw them into Perplexity Pro, and start asking. Like, what you really want to ask is, give it the context first. I'm looking for an insurance plan. I'm looking at this PPO plans. What's the limit? Is it a lifetime limit? Is it a single occurrence limit? What are other gotchas that might be in these private insurance plans? Do you know any gotchas for these specific insurance providers? Look through these documents, give me specifics as far as benefit limits or copays, or like basically walking them through, here's all the things you would want to know. And then your blanket questions are, um, yeah, what are the gotchas in this? What are the things that most people miss when they're looking at a document like this? And it will try to collect those and tell them to you. But like that to me is the primary use for introducing people to an AI right now. Is just like you can go through tens or hundreds of pages of documents and distill it into like, okay, what does a normal person actually need to know when I'm going to buy insurance? Uh, yeah. So that would be it doesn't have to be insurance. It could be a car. What are common problems with this car and this model and recalls? And I mean, to me is the easiest way to get into AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, speaking from, I mean, I'm kind of in it's in a weird hybrid position, but anyways, not being officially like in a firm for a while, but from what I've seen, I would say that AI is much more than Google, obviously, but even starting just with asking AI questions, it's funny because I mean, I've been using AI for a long time and I can do things with AI that most normal people can't do with all the vibe coding stuff. And people ask like how I learned how to do that. The reason I say it's funny is because I asked AI. Like just I think the very first step is just go ask AI how to do something. And then obviously you want to make sure it's not hallucinating. So you double check a couple of times, especially if it's something important and that you're trying to learn. But defaulting to, okay, how do I do this? Going and asking AI, because most of us will go ask Google anyways. You'll probably go on YouTube or you'll go, I don't know, some random place, get a little instruction manual. Just go to AI. It will be your instruction manual. Then AI can teach you how to do things with AI that you didn't know before. So it's a weird cycle thing where you're asking AI how to use AI better, but it works obviously because that's what I've been doing. Um, so that is where I would say to start is just give AI like what you do for work and then say, all right, what are a couple ways that I can safely use AI within my business? And it will give you a lot of different ways to use it and just start doing them one by one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's like the baseline place to start. You can ask AI literally how to use AI more, uh, and it will come up with ideas, especially because everyone's job is different. So someone who might work in this accounting firm does something different than someone who works in this accounting firm. And so if you give some specifics about your job, it will help you think of ideas. Uh, but yeah, that would be my advice. You got anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Um, that's the podcast for today. If you enjoy the podcast on Spotify, we would really appreciate a 5-star review. If you watch it on YouTube, we'd love to get a like and subscribe. And send us some email, jc.unscripted@gmail.com. That is the pod, and we will see you on the next one.